Here's the rewritten version of the text, translated and elaborated upon in a style that aims for clarity and a slightly more descriptive tone, as if a native English speaker were explaining the concepts. The prophecy unveils that one particular city will be the first to fall under the Antichrist's control. Of all the cities on earth, there's one destined to be conquered by the Antichrist before any other. You might be quite surprised to learn the 7 biblical clues that pinpoint the identity of this specific city. Let's begin with the first clue, the city everyone misidentifies. Let me start by pointing out where most Christians tend to look for answers regarding this prophecy. If you've studied Bible prophecy at all, read any books about the end times, or watched videos that delve into prophecy, you've likely heard about the fall of Babylon. Revelation 18 presents a remarkably dramatic, vivid, and catastrophic depiction of judgment. Consider how it begins in verse 2. And he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. The repetition, Babylon the great is fallen, emphasizes the completeness of its destruction. The chapter proceeds to describe this devastation in considerable detail. Verses 9 and 10 tell us, And the kings of the earth, who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, shall bewail her and lament for her, when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city! For in 1 hour is thy judgment come. The text speaks of total destruction in a single hour. Global leaders will watch from a distance, filled with terror. Merchants will weep over the loss of their wealth. Shipmasters will cry out because international trade will have collapsed. A superpower will be obliterated in just 60 minutes. That's the event that most prophecy teachers emphasize. It's the city that captures everyone's attention, leading to all sorts of speculation. Is it Rome, the heart of Catholicism, and seen as the religious harlot riding the beast? Is it New York City, the world's economic powerhouse and the center of global finance? Could it be Dubai, the modern Babylon, built on unimaginable wealth and luxury in the Middle East? Or is it the literal Babylon in Iraq, perhaps rebuilt as a one-world capital? But here's a critical point, and it's vital that you pay close attention to it because it holds the key to understanding everything else. Babylon's fall occurs late in the tribulation period, very near the end, just before Armageddon, and after the bold judgments have already taken place, after most of the 7-year period has unfolded. Revelation 18:8 tells us, Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. The text emphasizes a single day, describing a sudden, catastrophic, and final destruction. That's how Babylon is destroyed. Not through a gradual occupation or a 42-month siege, but through a single day of fire that ends everything. Therefore, if you're focusing on Babylon's fall as the initial major city judgment, if you believe that's the signal that the Antichrist is seizing control, you're going to miss what happens earlier in the timeline. You'll overlook the city that falls at the very beginning of the worst persecution. You'll be watching the wrong place at the wrong time because there is another city to consider. Let's turn to the second clue. Jesus himself identifies the city. In Matthew 24, Jesus is sitting on the Mount of Olives, overlooking Jerusalem. He can see the city spread out before him, the temple gleaming in the sunlight. His disciples have just asked him about the end times, about his return, and about the signs that will precede these events. Jesus then begins to answer their questions. He speaks of false messiahs, wars, and rumors of wars, famines, earthquakes, persecution, and deception. He also mentions the gospel being preached to all nations. Then, he becomes very specific. Verse 15 says, "When ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand." Stop right there. Whoso readeth, let him understand. Jesus is saying, pay attention, this is absolutely critical. Make sure you fully grasp what I'm about to tell you. He's referring to the abomination of desolation, the very same event that Daniel prophesied, the same desecration Paul described, the same moment Revelation 13 depicts when the Antichrist enters the temple, stops the sacrifices, sets up his own image, and declares himself to be God. So, where does this happen? Where is the holy place? Verse 16 tells us, "Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains." Judea. Jesus explicitly names the location. Not Babylon, not Rome, not Egypt, and not any other nation. Judea, the region surrounding Jerusalem, the heart of Israel, the land that God gave to the Jewish people. And his command is to flee immediately, with the utmost urgency. Do not delay. Verses 17 to 20 continue, "Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. If you're on your roof, when you see this happen, don't go back inside to gather your belongings, just run. If you're working in the field, don't return to your house, just flee. If you're pregnant or nursing a baby, you're in particular danger because you can't move as quickly. Pray that it doesn't happen in the winter when travel is much more difficult. Pray that it doesn't happen on the Sabbath when religious Jews will not travel." The urgency Jesus expresses is extreme. His warning is emphatic. He's saying, when you see the abomination set up in the temple in Jerusalem, you'll have mere hours, maybe even just minutes, to escape. Don't overthink it, don't pack, don't prepare, just run. Why? Why this extreme urgency? Why does Jesus command an immediate evacuation? It's because of what he says next. Verse 21, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be." The Great Tribulation begins the instant the abomination is set up. The worst period of persecution in human history starts the very moment the Antichrist occupies the temple. From that point forward, Jerusalem becomes the most dangerous place on earth. Why? Because it becomes the Antichrist's headquarters, his throne room, the location where he demands worship. Anyone in Judea who refuses to worship him will be hunted down, tortured, and executed. That's why Jesus commands immediate flight. That's why there's such urgency, because remaining in Jerusalem after the abomination is set up means certain death. Now, do you see the sequence of events? Do you understand how this establishes Jerusalem as the first city to fall? The Antichrist makes a 7-year covenant with Israel. For the initial 3.5 years, there is relative peace. The temple is rebuilt and the Jewish people are worshipping there. Everything seems to be going well. Then, at the midpoint, on day 1260 of the tribulation, the Antichrist breaks the covenant. He enters the temple, stops the sacrifices, sets up his image, and declares himself to be God. He occupies Jerusalem, and from that moment on, for the next 42 months, Jerusalem is under his complete control. It's his capital city, his headquarters, and the center of his blasphemous reign. This makes Jerusalem the first city to fall under the beast's direct control, not Babylon, which falls later, and not any other city. Jerusalem, at the midpoint of the tribulation, falls first, exactly as Daniel prophesied and exactly as Jesus warned. But why Jerusalem? Why does the Antichrist choose that specific city? Why doesn't he set up his throne in Rome, where religious influence is concentrated? Why not New York City, where economic power is so strong? Why not choose a neutral location that wouldn't inflame religious tensions? It's because there's something about Jerusalem that Satan has desired for 4,000 years. Something that makes it the ultimate target. Something that, when he finally conquers it through his chosen vessel, represents the highest form of blasphemy imaginable. Let's move on to the third clue. Why Jerusalem? The city Satan has always wanted. Let me share something that will clarify everything. Once you understand the spiritual significance of Jerusalem, once you grasp why God chose it, you'll understand why Satan targets it. Jerusalem isn't just another city. It's not simply the capital of Israel. It's not merely a historical location with religious importance. Jerusalem is God's chosen city. It's the place where he placed his name, the location where his presence dwelt, the site of his temple, and the future capital of his millennial kingdom. Consider what God himself says about Jerusalem. For the Lord hath chosen Zion, he hath desired it for his habitation. This is my rest forever, here will I dwell, for I have desired it. Psalm 132:13-1:4. The Lord has chosen Zion, which is Jerusalem. God chose it, not because it was the largest city, not because it was the wealthiest, and not because it had strategic military value. God chose it because he desired it. This is my rest forever, here will I dwell. God's presence, God's dwelling place, and God's throne are there forever. 1 Kings 11:36 confirms it. The city which I have chosen me to put my name there. God's name is on Jerusalem, connected to it, and identified with it. When people think of God, they often think of Jerusalem. When they worship the God of Israel, they face Jerusalem. That's why the temple was located there, why the Ark of the Covenant rested there, why the Holy of Holies was there, and why God's glory dwelt between the cherubim there. Because Jerusalem is God's chosen city. Now, here's what you need to understand. Satan hates what God loves. He attacks what God values. He tries to destroy what God has declared holy. For 4,000 years, from the time Abraham was shown Mount Moriah, the future site of the temple, Satan has been trying to conquer, defile, and destroy Jerusalem. Look at the historical pattern. Antiochus Epiphanes, a foreshadowing of the Antichrist, entered the temple, sacrificed a pig on the altar, set up an image of Zeus, and forbade Jewish worship, which was an abomination of desolation, a preview of what the final Antichrist will do. The Roman destruction in 70 AD saw Titus and his legions burn the temple, slaughter over 1 million Jews, and scatter the survivors. Jerusalem ceased to exist as a Jewish city for centuries. The Islamic conquest in 637 AD saw the city change hands multiple times, all because of its religious significance. Modern conflicts, from 1948 to the present day, show that every war Israel has fought has centered on Jerusalem. Every peace negotiation stumbles over Jerusalem, and every terrorist attack targets Jerusalem, the most contested city on earth. Why? Why has more blood been spilled over Jerusalem than any other city in history? Why has it been destroyed and rebuilt 9 times? Why is it the most fought-over piece of real estate on the planet? It's because Satan knows what God declared. This is my rest forever. Here will I dwell. If Satan can conquer Jerusalem, if he can defile God's temple, and if he can set up his throne where God's presence once dwelt, it's the ultimate act of rebellion, the ultimate blasphemy, and the ultimate insult to God. It's not just conquering a city, it's conquering times the times city. It's not just occupying a temple, it's occupying times the times temple. It's not just ruling a nation, it's ruling times the times nation God chose. That's precisely what the Antichrist does. That's why he enters the temple in Jerusalem. That's why he sits there declaring himself to be God. That's why he makes it his headquarters for 42 months, because 2 Thessalonians 2-4 says, "So that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God, shewing himself that he is God. He's not sitting in St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. He's sitting in God's temple, in God's city, on God's throne. It's Satan's ultimate "I will" statement. Remember Isaiah 14:13-14, where Satan's original rebellion is described. For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation, in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. 5 I wills, 5 declarations of rebellion, and 5 attempts to replace God. The Antichrist, Satan's chosen vessel, carries out those "I wills" by sitting in God's temple, in God's city, declaring himself to be God. That's why Jerusalem falls first. That's why it has to be Jerusalem. Because Satan's entire strategy, his 6,000-year rebellion, culminates in conquering the one city God has called his own. But there's even more to it than that. This isn't solely about Satan's hatred, it's also about God's plan for Israel. Recall what Daniel 9:24 says, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city, to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy. Daniel's people were Jewish, his people are Israel. Thy holy city refers to Jerusalem. The 70 weeks, or 490 years, are specifically determined upon Israel and Jerusalem. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but you said Revelation reveals this. Where in Revelation does it explicitly say, Jerusalem falls? Let me show you. Revelation doesn't just imply it, it gives us the precise timeline, the exact duration, and the specific 42-month countdown. When you see it, when you understand the numbers, there's no ambiguity left. That brings us to the fourth clue. The 42-month countdown. Revelation is filled with numbers, specific durations, and exact timelines. If you pay close attention to them and track them carefully, they unlock the chronology of the entire tribulation. Let me show you how Revelation describes the same time period using different measurements, because understanding this is crucial to seeing when Jerusalem falls. Revelation 11:2 states, But the court which is without the temple, leave out and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. And the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months. That's 42 months. And what's being trampled? The holy city, which is Jerusalem. Gentiles, or non-Jews, are occupying it, controlling it, and trampling it for 42 months. Revelation 11:3 continues, And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. That's 1,260 days, which equates to 42 months, or 3.5 years, using 30-day prophetic years. It's the same duration, but a different measurement. Revelation 12:6 tells us, And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. Again, 1,260 days. The woman, representing Israel, flees into the wilderness and is protected there for 1,260 days. Revelation 12:14 says, And to the woman were given 2 wings of a great eagle, that she might fly into the wilderness, into her place, where she is nourished for a time, and times, and half a time from the face of the serpent. A time, and times, and half a time means 1 year, plus 2 years, plus half a year, which equals 3.5 years. The same duration again. Revelation 13:5 adds, And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And power was given unto him to continue 42 months. The beast's reign lasts for 42 months. This is the same duration as Jerusalem being trampled, the same duration as the 2 witnesses prophesying, and the same duration as Israel fleeing into the wilderness. Do you see the pattern? Revelation uses 4 different ways to describe the same 3.5-year period: 42 months, 1,260 days, a time, times, and half a time, and 3.5 years. All of these refer to the second half of the tribulation, the Great Tribulation, and the final 42 months before Christ returns. What happens during those 42 months? Jerusalem is trampled by Gentiles, as described in Revelation 11:2. The beast reigns and blasphemes, as mentioned in Revelation 13:5. The 2 witnesses prophesy in Jerusalem, as stated in Revelation 11:3. Israel flees into the wilderness for protection, as noted in Revelation 12:6-14. All of this begins when? At the midpoint of the tribulation, when the abomination of desolation is set up, when the Antichrist enters the temple and declares himself to be God. Let me outline the complete timeline for you. On day 1 of the tribulation, the Antichrist confirms a 7-year covenant with Israel, as mentioned in Daniel 9:27a. This is a peace agreement with guaranteed protection, allowing the temple to be rebuilt and the Jewish people to begin offering sacrifices again. During years 1 to 3.5, or days 1 to 1,260, which is the first half of the tribulation, there is false peace. The seal judgments and trumpet judgments occur. The world believes the Antichrist is a brilliant peacemaker, and Israel feels secure. On day 1,260, at the midpoint, the abomination of desolation takes place. The Antichrist breaks the covenant, as mentioned in Daniel 9:27b, enters the temple, stops the sacrifices, and sets up his image, as described in Revelation 13:14-15. He declares himself to be God, as noted in 2 Thessalonians 2-4, and Jerusalem falls under his control. The Great Tribulation begins. From days 1,260 to 2,520, during the last 3.5 years, Jerusalem is occupied by the beast and trampled by Gentiles for 42 months, as stated in Revelation 11:2. The mark of the beast is enforced, as mentioned in Revelation 13:16-18. There is massive persecution and martyrdom, and the bowl judgments are poured out. Babylon is destroyed near the end, as described in Revelation 18. Armies gather for Armageddon, as stated in Revelation 16:16. On day 2,520, the end of the tribulation, Christ returns, as described in Revelation 19:11-1. The beast and the false prophet are thrown into the lake of fire, as mentioned in Revelation 19:20, and Jerusalem is liberated. The millennium begins, as described in Revelation 20:1-6. Do you see it now? Jerusalem doesn't fall at the end, it falls at the beginning of the worst persecution, at the midpoint, on day 1,260. It remains under the beast's control for the entire 42-month Great Tribulation period. This makes Jerusalem the first city to fall under the beast's direct occupation. He conquers it, rules from it, and uses it as his headquarters for 1,260 days. During those 1,260 days, Babylon is still functioning, the global economic system is still operating, and the religious harlot is still riding the beast. Babylon doesn't fall until near the very end, right before Christ returns. But here's the question that should be on your mind. If Jerusalem falls first, if it's occupied for 42 months, and if it becomes the beast's headquarters, what about Babylon? Turn back to Revelation 17 and 18. This is where John sees the judgment of Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth, as stated in Revelation 17:5. Revelation 17 describes Babylon as a woman, a harlot, riding a scarlet beast. She's dressed in purple and scarlet, adorned with gold and jewels, holding a golden cup full of abominations, and she's drunk with the blood of the saints. Verses 15 to 18 explain what she represents. Verse 18 states, "And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth." Babylon is a city, but it's also a system. A religious and economic system that controls nations, influences kings, and dominates global commerce. Some interpreters believe it's Rome, the headquarters of the Catholic Church. Jerusalem is conquered so that the Antichrist can sit in the temple and declare himself to be God. It's his political headquarters, his throne room, and the location where he demands worship. Babylon is the economic and religious system that supports his reign. It's the commerce, the trade, the wealth, the false religion, and the global network that enables his control. Here's the key point. The beast needs Babylon functioning throughout his 42-month reign. He needs the economic system operating, the religious deception continuing, and the global commerce flowing, so that he can enforce the mark of the beast. No one can buy or sell without it, as stated in Revelation 13:17. That's why Babylon doesn't fall until the very end. The beast is using it, profiting from it, and controlling through it. But then, as the bold judgments are being poured out, as the world system is collapsing, and as the armies are gathering for Armageddon, God destroys Babylon. Revelation 17:16-1-7 tells us, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled." Even the beast's own allies turn on Babylon. They destroy it, and God puts it in their hearts to do his will. The system collapses from within, and then fire consumes what's left. Once Babylon is destroyed, once the economic system is gone, and once the religious deception is shattered, the beast is finished. He has no support structure left, no financial base, and no global network. That's when Christ returns, as described in Revelation 19, which brings us to the final discovery, the one that shows us what happens after Jerusalem falls. The story doesn't end with 42 months of occupation. It doesn't end with the beast's blasphemous reign. It ends with restoration, redemption, and exaltation. The city that falls first becomes the city that rises highest. That leads us to the final point. What happens after Jerusalem falls? Let me paint a picture of the future for you. This is where it all leads. This is the final chapter of Jerusalem's story, and it's glorious. Jerusalem falls to the Antichrist, but Christ's feet will touch the Mount of Olives, the very same place from which he ascended in Acts 1:1. The angels told the disciples, "This same Jesus, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven." He left from the Mount of Olives, and he returns to the Mount of Olives. When his feet touch it, the mountain splits, and geographic changes occur. A valley forms, and the topography reshapes. He then marches into Jerusalem, the city occupied by the beast and defiled by blasphemy, and he reclaims it. Revelation 19:19-0 describes what happens to the beast. "And I saw the beast, and the kings of the earth and their armies, gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse, and against his army. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire, burning with brimstone." The beast is captured, not killed in battle. He is captured alive and thrown directly into the lake of fire. There's no intermediate judgment or waiting. He goes straight to eternal torment. His 42-month reign is over, his occupation of Jerusalem ends, and the city is liberated. It doesn't just return to normal. It doesn't just go back to being Israel's capital. Something far greater happens, because Jerusalem, the city Satan tried to destroy, and the city the beast defiled, becomes the capital of the entire world during the millennium. Isaiah 2:2-3 states, And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills. And all nations shall flow unto it, and many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, and he will teach us of his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. All nations will flow into it. Every nation on earth will come to Jerusalem on pilgrimage to worship and to seek the Lord. Out of Zion shall go forth the law. Christ will rule from Jerusalem. His throne will be there, his government will operate from there, and his law will go out from there to the ends of the earth. Zechariah 8:3 says, Thus saith the Lord, I am returned unto Zion, and will dwell in the midst of Jerusalem, and Jerusalem shall be called a city of truth, and the mountain of the Lord of hosts, the holy mountain. I am returned unto Zion. God himself will dwell in Jerusalem again, not just visiting, not just manifesting his presence temporarily, but dwelling, living. Jerusalem will be known as the city of truth from that day forward. No more lies, no more false idols, no more blasphemous words from the Antichrist. Only truth. God's truth forever and always. As Zechariah 14:9 tells us, And the Lord shall be king over all the earth. In that day shall there be one Lord, and his name one. One king, one name, one way of worship, emanating from Jerusalem for 1,000 years. Can you see the pattern here? Do you understand the way God works? Satan always sets his sights on Jerusalem because it's the city God himself has chosen. The Antichrist takes over Jerusalem to mock God's divine choice. God allows this to happen for a short time, just 42 months. Then Christ returns, frees the city, and raises it higher than any other city on earth. The city that fell the furthest will become the city that rises the highest. The throne the Antichrist used to sit on will become the throne Christ himself sits on. The place where the greatest blasphemies were spoken will become the place of the greatest glory. That's redemption in action. That's restoration. That's God taking what Satan has defiled and making it even more glorious than it ever was before. And then, after the 1,000-year millennium, once Satan's final rebellion has been crushed, after the great white throne judgment, Revelation 21 gives us a glimpse of the eternal state in verses 1 and 2. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from God out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. New Jerusalem, the ultimate city, descending from heaven, perfect, eternal, and more beautiful than words can describe. Verse 22 continues, And I saw no temple therein, for the Lord God Almighty and the Lamb are the temple of it. No temple is needed anymore. Why is that? Because God and the Lamb are the temple themselves. Their presence fills absolutely everything, direct, unmediated, and eternal fellowship with God. But take note of the name, New Jerusalem. Even in eternity, even in this perfected state, the city keeps that name, Jerusalem. The city God chose long ago, the city Satan attacked relentlessly, the city the beast occupied for a time. The city Christ redeemed with his own blood. And here's the striking contrast that should cause you to worship: Babylon, used by the beast throughout the tribulation, then utterly destroyed in a single hour by God's judgment, never to be rebuilt. Revelation 18:21 says, And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. Gone forever, completely erased, leaving no trace behind. Jerusalem, on the other hand, was occupied by the beast for just 42 months, and then liberated by Christ at his return. It was made the millennial capital for 1,000 years, and then transformed into New Jerusalem for all of eternity. Redeemed forever, exalted to the highest place, and made completely new. That's the crucial difference between the city Satan built and the city God chose for himself. One is temporary and ultimately destroyed. The other is eternal and gloriously transformed. And that's why understanding which city falls first matters so much in the grand scheme of things. Because Jerusalem's fall isn't the end of the story, it's really the beginning of the final act. And that final act ends with God's glory completely filling the very city that Satan tried so desperately to destroy.